We've received a question about homosexuality and just asking how we should handle homosexuality in the church. Now, the answer that you give when it comes to homosexuality will always cause you to have somebody to be upset with you. And the answer I have will cause both parties to be basically upset with me. But let me just share what I think. If a homosexual comes to, or a person, I don't want to say a homosexual, if a person that has got homosexual tendencies come to my church, they are welcome as anybody else. They can come to the fellowship and everything, and you might say, but Bert, what about the scriptures that Paul said this and Paul said that? Well, we get to that and what I think, how we should look at those verses. Because if we need to discriminate against the homosexual and tell the homosexual, you're not allowed to come to our church because the Bible says homosexuals are not allowed to come to church, where will they get to a place where they can hear the gospel and actually be set free? Must they be set free on their own and then come to church? Oh my goodness, that is sickening. Jesus Christ was a friend of sinners, and he hanged out with sinners, and he was amongst the sinners, and he preached to them, he did good to them, he came and loved them, and he pointed to man that he can still reach out to man and be there with man and heal people in the midst of their darkness. So that is what I feel the church needs to bring forth when it comes to homosexuals. We should not push anybody away. Now, what I do want to say as pertaining to the homosexual himself is that, and this is where they will be frustrated with what I say, I think that the homosexual need to admit that what they do is not normal, and that it is, as in the Bible, seen as misconduct. So if you can come to that acknowledgement, that will be wonderful. Now, the people are not going to, it is like, how can you say it's wrong? We've been gifted to be this way and all that kind of a thing. Number one, we cannot discriminate against people that has got homosexual tendencies. Number two, if you have it, doesn't help you say, well, this is the way it's supposed to be, and everybody must just accept it, and that is a kind of a normal. We cannot go that way as well, because the Bible talks about those that were homosexual and were set free. So we sit, and this is the way I would see it. It's like, it's a very simple example, but we can use example. If I've been born with bad eyesight, am I going to say, I'm going to say, well, accept the fact that I don't have a good eyesight, but if I can be healed tomorrow and there can be an operation tomorrow that can heal my bad eyesight, I'm willing to go for it, because this bad eyesight is not a God-given gift. It's not something that God gives and that everybody must accept as the way man must go through life. That is the way. So what we can do is we can accept a person as a person with bad eyesight, but we can never accept the bad eyesight as normal. So in the very same way, I think it works with homosexuality. So it is a tricky situation, because it is a sexual thing, and when it comes to sexuality, and especially if people are born that way, you say to me, Bertie, how can you say a homosexual? Can a person be born homosexual? Of course, if a person can be born with bad eyesight, or a person can be born Down syndrome, or if a person can be born with any defect in any way of his, why not a sexual defect, or a sexually not normal, if you want to call it that way? I mean, it's not a sin to have an abnormality in the sense of bad eyesight. It's not seen as a sin. It is seen as you're a victim of something. Now, why can't we look the same way at sexuality or homosexuality? We can look at it the very same way. And I think the church needs to look at it that way, and then they will love the person much more. And the gay can look at it that way, and it will give room for the person that believes that freedom we want freedom, you know, and they'll be able to work together, because we cannot come to a place where we just accept that is the way, and God has made me that way, and that's the way. Now, what the question is still, what if that person cannot change? What if that person cannot change? And this is where my heart is if I struggle with any problem, if I struggle with racism, bitterness, hatred, or whatever, and I cannot change, does that mean, I mean, I also don't want to live all the time with, I've got this problem and, you know, I feel bogged down by it all the way, by it all the time. But what I can do is I can say, this problem I have is not God-given, this problem is not normal, and I'm expecting freedom. If that freedom comes today or tomorrow, I don't care. But I stand for freedom and I'm available for it. And I think if that is the case, you know, well, that's what I think how somebody with homosexuality should be in a church, and that's how people should deal with people that have that. We cannot see anybody that's homosexual as lesser. We cannot exclude them from our meetings or anything like that. I think we need to have a look at it in that form. Now, if a person that is a brother comes and he says, well, homosexuality is a gift and that is the way it's supposed to be, and, you know, I'm proud of it, you know, that kind of a thing, then I would say I've got a problem with that in the church. And if that is your stance and that is what you want to proclaim, and you believe that in your heart, it will be difficult to associate with you along the lines of what you believe there. And I don't say there's hatred or something, it's just I differ from you, and therefore we say we cannot agree, and how can two walk together lest they agree? So I think we need to find a place of agreement between the church and any sin or homosexuality, and that place of agreement would be, well, if you're not free, but that's the desire in your heart, well, if you cannot be free by your own works, God needs to set you free, and unless you are free, I'm going to accept you. And this other person has got the very same attitude, you know, then I think we can walk together. Other than that, it's going to be very difficult. Like I said, if you say anything about homosexuals or any controversial issue like this, you will always find people that are pro and people that are against what you say. But that is my view. God bless.